Hello, I'm Matilda. Today, I have an interesting story for your English learning. Just relax and listen comfortably. This story happened a very long time ago in Korea. It's a dramatic story about injustice, courage, and how good eventually defeats evil. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and enjoy the story. Long ago in the Joseon dynasty, there was a small village surrounded by rice fields and soft green mountains. From far away, it looked peaceful and beautiful. In spring, the fields turned bright green, and in autumn, the rice shone like gold under the sun. But the people who lived there were not happy at all. They lived in fear every single day. The reason was simple. The village had a cruel governor. People never spoke his name loudly. At night, when lamps were dim and doors were closed, they whispered another name instead. The blood tax collector. The governor loved money more than people. The king had ordered a certain amount of tax, but the governor demanded 2 times more, sometimes even 3 times more. If the king asks for 10 bags of rice, he would say with a cold smile, "Then I will collect 20. His assistants walked through the village like wolves. They knocked on doors, searched storage rooms, and took whatever they wanted. One autumn morning, the tax collectors came to Farmer Kim's house. Farmer Kim had worked hard all year, but the weather had been terrible, and the harvest was small. Farmer Kim bowed deeply and said with a trembling voice, "Sir, please have mercy. The harvest was poor this year. I will pay later." But the tax collector did not listen at all. "Take the rice," he said. The soldiers carried away almost every bag. Farmer Kim's little boy watched with wide eyes. When the soldiers finally left, the boy quietly asked, "Father, what will we eat this winter?" Farmer Kim looked at the empty storage room and could not answer. Another cruel scene happened in the marketplace. A young widow sold rice cakes there every day. She had lost her husband years ago and now raised her daughter alone. One morning, the governor rode through the market on his tall horse. People quickly bowed and stepped aside. The governor saw the rice cakes and grabbed one. The widow spoke carefully, trying not to anger him. "My lord, those are for sale." The governor slowly turned his head and looked at her with cold eyes. "You want money from me?" he said. Then he threw the rice cake onto the ground and stepped on it. "Take her away," he ordered the guards. She must not have paid enough taxes. The widow was dragged to the government office and beaten with a wooden stick. After that day, the marketplace became quiet and heavy with fear. Every night, villagers gathered secretly under dim oil lamps. "Does the king know about this?" someone whispered. "If he knew, surely he would stop it," another replied. But who would dare report this governor? The village felt completely hopeless. Then, one strange day, something unusual happened. A beggar appeared at the entrance of the village. His clothes were torn and dusty. His shoes were almost broken. He looked tired from traveling a very long distance. The beggar slowly walked into the market and sat quietly near a wooden post. Most people ignored him. Life was already too hard to worry about a beggar. But an old grandmother walked over and handed him a small rice cake. "Eat this," she said kindly. Then she sighed and added, "But be careful in this village. Our governor is a cruel man." The beggar nodded slowly. "I see. The people here look very tired." The grandmother sighed again. "Tired? No, we are beyond tired. We are simply surviving." Later that afternoon, loud horse hooves echoed through the market. The governor had arrived. People quickly moved aside and bowed their heads. But someone was still sitting in the middle of the road. "The beggar!" The governor frowned deeply. "You filthy man! How dare you block my road?" The beggar quickly stood up, but it was too late. The governor jumped down from his horse and kicked the beggar hard. The beggar fell into the dust. Everyone froze. No one dared to speak. The governor laughed coldly. "Beggar dogs like this make the village dirty." Then he climbed back onto his horse and rode away. The beggar slowly stood up again. Dust covered his clothes, but he did not look angry. Instead, he quietly looked around the village, carefully observing the people, the market, and even the government office in the distance. That night, something mysterious began to happen. The ragged beggar started visiting houses after dark. He knocked softly and asked gentle questions. How much tax do you pay? Does the governor treat you fairly? How much rice is stored in the government warehouse? At first, people were suspicious, but slowly they began to trust him. Some farmers cried as they spoke. Others told long stories of injustice and suffering. The beggar listened to everything carefully, very carefully. Then one morning, something shocking happened. Boom, boom, boom! A large drum echoed in front of the government office. Villagers rushed outside. Soldiers stood in formation. In the center stood a man wearing official robes. At his waist hung a royal badge. People gasped, an undercover royal inspector. The governor rushed out of the office trying to smile. Inspector! What an honor for our small village. But suddenly he froze. His face turned pale, because the inspector's face looked very familiar. It was the beggar. The same beggar he had kicked in the market. The inspector spoke calmly. For several days, I walked through this village. I saw hungry children. I heard farmers crying. Then he pointed toward the government warehouse. But strangely, your storage house is full. The inspector raised the royal badge high into the air. I am the king's undercover inspector. Soldiers immediately grabbed the governor. The warehouse doors were opened. Inside were mountains of rice bags. Grain taken from starving villagers. The crowd fell silent. The inspector spoke quietly. This rice is filled with the tears of the people. The corrupt governor was stripped of his position and dragged away in chains. Later, people began whispering another rumor throughout the village. They said the governor was punished severely in prison. He received so many strokes of the whip that his wounds became infected, and the poison from those wounds eventually took his life inside the prison cell. People also said his entire family lost their noble status and were taken away as government slaves. No one knew every detail for certain, but the story spread quickly across the village and even to neighboring towns. Days later, something wonderful happened. The rice from the warehouse was returned to the villagers. Children ate full meals for the first time in months. Farmers cried with relief. The village finally breathed again. And for many years after that, people told this story to their children. A cruel governor once kicked a beggar, but that beggar turned out to be the king's royal inspector. And the villagers always finished the story with the same words. Evil may look strong for a moment, but in the end, goodness always wins. If you enjoyed today's story and it helped your English listening, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue making interesting stories for English learning. And if you'd like more stories like this, leave a comment below. See you in the next story.